right, as I've been YouTubing, a lot of people have come up to me or reached out to me and asked me, what is the Macdicator? What does it do? Why is it that you trade it? How long have you been trading it? You know, and I wanted to build a video just in order for us to kind of go over what I've been doing in my trade strategy. And of course, the Macdicator you can buy on the WAP through our Discord community. One of the things about the Macdicator is that while I've been trading over my past futures career, I've noticed that the market creates and leaves behind breadcrumbs as to where price can or could go using auction gaps. My trading strategy has evolved over time, and I have certainly used it to make some very large profits and stay confident in my trading strategy or my direction by using these gaps to better off my career. It has done a lot for me, and it seems to me that it will never change. It has never changed how price moves in the market and how it moves to the price gaps. So this is a video to go over all of that and kind of give you an idea about how to use the Macdicator and what it is and how I use it. I built the Macdicator with several different indicators. Actually, it's about 13 indicators in one. If we count them off with you here, we got to start off, we have the VWAP, which is one. We have the 5 EMA, the 9 EMA, the 20 EMA, and the 200 EMA. Well, those are pretty normal, right? You know, everybody knows how to use an EMA. I like to use EMAs because of the accuracy of price and movement, and it's faster than an SMA. Of course, we also have, you know, the typical VWAP 200 EMA, which, you know, is pretty well respected in the futures market and indices. So, and they work on all indices, all stocks, all ETFs, crypto. This is great for gold and silver because it shows support and resistance levels that we could bounce off of. We have several different things with this indicator. As you can see, I'm not using all the indicators, so you don't see them all lit up, but right now above you see the gaps. I'll make that a better set from tiny to large. We can certainly see those gaps above and the dates of when they were created. So yesterday, these gaps were created at February 16th, and you can also use these gaps on any time frame. So we got another one here from February 5th. So the date in time between this 12 tick gap and this gap here. So we're kind of ranging in between this current price action at the moment. TradingView only allows for so many indicators. So I decided to write one that would show me all the indicators. That what I'll do is that we'll start the Macdicator off from the beginning, like as if you just purchased it, you just uploaded it to your TV and you got it all set up. So we're gonna reset the settings and we're gonna redo everything from the start, just so you guys get a good idea about how to control this and how to set it up for yourself. A lot of the time you have your own indicators already that are already placed on your chart, and this adds a whole bunch more and you get kind of overwhelmed. And you just have to kind of really filter out those things, and knowing how to filter that out is very important because it will jog your trading strategy a bit when you first turn it on. So first things first, let's kind of go back in time here and look for a gap. All right, so we have bullish bars starting with the OHLC. So these change colors when it's a bullish gap, and that is a bearish gap, so this changes colors as well when a bearish gap, and they're defaulted to green and orange, so that's the default, and you can turn those off. And then of course you would have to understand that's going to give you the indicator. So to turn those off right away, you would turn these bold bear bar. But it's like, Ryan, why are you turning them off if you have them in their indicator? Well, because for technical analysis purposes, when you go back too far in your trading view, the bars, the residual bars of, you know, the residual boxes that left behind for the gaps start to disappear after a particular candle. You can actually even use this for technical analysis further back long after the residual box has been deleted. And of course you can record the candle, you know, more of a technical analysis back in, depending on the trading view you have for data as well. So it only goes based off data. It can only record so much. There's only so much in this script that you can keep on the chart, and the bars are forever. So as long as you have it, you will do that. So the bear bull, I only use these when I'm using technical analysis and when I look back and why a price changed direction. I like to do that as well. Wickless candles. So that's our next colored candle. So what that does is it records and tells me when there was a wickless candle above and a wickless candle below. So this candle was wickless on top, so it turned green. If I continue back on the candle structure, this candle here was wickless on the bottom, so it turned red. So this was a green candle that it turned red. Now you can change these colors individually. Again, this is great for technical analysis. When we repaired this gap and wickless candle, we reversed and went higher. This was a great buy area for a sniper entry. So, and then of course, when there's no wick on top or bottom, you get a yellow candle, which is what I'm looking for right there. Boom. So there was no wick on the bottom, no wick on the top. We repaired the top, but didn't repair the bottom until we came back to it a couple hours later. Actually, 5 hours later. Took us 5 hours to get back to that. I like to turn these off as well because I've updated it in the Gapdicator, and it actually draws lines that we have. So okay, we turn those off. Now you understand what those two settings do. Now, of course, EMAs are customizable. You can customize them to your EMA, and until you memorize what color you put to the EMA, I put labels here, but you can turn those labels off. So we're going to turn those labels off, and we're going to kind of go in that particular aspect. So we turn those labels off and off. You can have them show up in the price scale, but I also like to turn those off as well. So we have that going for us. So we just went over the EMA labels. Now, what do we got? Now the indicator also shows gaps, price gaps, and volume imbalances. I don't like to look at volume imbalances. I personally would rather not. Volume imbalances are important. Everything in the balance of the market is important, but the gaps are what I'm more interested in because those are the magnets that are pulling price to it. So to look at the volume imbalances, the gap type here, up here you have gap type, you can gap, volume imbalance, and gap plus volume imbalance. You got the maximum number of boxes displayed. You can display up to 10,000 boxes. And then you can have the price engulfed or rebalanced as you see fit. I'd usually typically do engulf. That setup, so I typically use gap, 400 is fine, engulf, and then you have a bull gap, bear gap color. And then of course you can name the gap. You can replace it with an emoji. And you can set that accordingly to the way you want to set that. And then, of course, you have the volume imbalances. I keep it down to 100. I put engulfed, extended, unmitigated boxes. I really don't look at the volume imbalance. But if you wanted to, you could. If you wanted to light up your screen with craziness, you can. And I set it down to 100. You have your colors. I typically like to change my color to match my layout, whatever it is. So I can use that. And then, of course, you have emojis for the volume imbalances as well. You have your style for your box border. You have your transparency. If you don't like it, you just move it up and down. You have your highlight box. When price goes into the price of the gap, it'll highlight, and you can customize that according to how you see fit. You can plot the label, which is this whole entire white label here, or you can change the color to have any color you want. You can show the gap date. You can turn those off as well or on based off this. You have your label size, your gap label horizontal alignment, and your volume imbalance horizontal alignment. You have your mitigated box color. So these are the gaps that are left behind. I typically like to leave them on as light as possible. And then, of course, you have your bullish gap color for technical analysis. No upper wick, lower wick. I didn't revise this in the Gapdicator. And then you have your VWAP color, your EMA period. And of course, you can make that customizable to as you see fit. Now, there is a cross available for the 9 and 20. It does allow it to cross up and cross down. So we'll highlight the background like this green color here and this red color here. So make sure when you put your EMAs, if you customize it, when you're looking for crosses on your EMAs, like a 821 or something of that nature, you replace them in the right manner, because otherwise this will turn red while price is going up, and this will turn green while price is going down. So just make sure that you got that set up properly. And then of course you have your pivots. So these are your pivot lines. So you can use a traditional, which is what I use. I use a traditional pivot time frame for auto. Number of pivots back. It shows me 15. Use daily base values. Show the label. Show the prices. And label position is on the left or right side. And then you have your line width. You can change the size of your line, and then of course you can see whichever pivots you want to see. I like to turn the labels off on price scale, and I like to turn off the values in the status line and inputs. And then of course I change the colors accordingly. So I only run with the EMAs, the VWAP, and the boxes and the pain levels and the lines. So that's what I run my Macdicator with, and I've set that accordingly. So that's kind of how I set it up. Now, how do I trade it? I trade it by watching price action. I confluence it with Bookmaps. I also confluence it with what's going on in the market. So also retests. So I haven't seen a retest back at the VWAP yet. This is an anchored VWAP, so it's going to be per session, each session. So, but when we come back down, I do believe we do retest 24,657. We're having a hard time getting above this price gap here at 24,815.75. So we're really, it's just kind of one of those things where we can watch this either continue up above previous price close to 24,911, or we can fall back down and retest the 20, retest the VWAP, retest some sort of support that we made in here. I would assume that this is this area right here. If we break this price, we could come back and test this price here. We kind of been chopping back up and forth in this price, giving us a W. So we could go lower from here. But don't always trade to them until you see and have confirmation that this price is continuing through it. Now, we could run through this pretty quickly. This could happen within 5-10 minutes or an hour, or it can take its sweet time. So we don't know exactly when it's going to come back to it. But if depending on the size that you have and the type of account you're using, you can build into a position to go long. Or you can say, well, I'm bear bias and look for a gap that's lower. Right here, 24,361.50. So you have to trade this the way that you need to trade it, but you have to have confidence in the fact that we could come back all the way to 24,905, wick into 24,912. We could even wick into all of that pretty quickly. We can, as soon as we find some sort of support and buyers to keep us there. This is how I trade the Macdicator, and I really appreciate you taking your time to watch it. Hopefully that it can make your trading a lot better.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you enjoy the stream?
I did. Thank you for watching.
Same small dream of getting this right. Think with Bookmaps, trust that chat, slow control, no FOMO. Ryan Mac teach us that if you're here for the climb, not just the hit, pull up a chair, yeah, you're built for this.